Alright, this is another video on taking another shot at the consciousness language argument, sort of. It's really irritating because it's, to me, this is like, the logic of being an atheist is sort of acknowledging natural selection, acknowledging 4 billion years of evolution, and acknowledging that only a tiny, tiny, tiny little part of that has there existed language and knowledge and education and conversation and contemplation of the earth and the universe and all that stuff in the human organism. That no other animal developed anything close. We're it. And it's an aberration. And that's what it is. And obviously there's people who think it was the intention of evolution, or it is a consequence or an automatic byproduct, that natural selection would produce intelligence, and that it would produce this contemplative mind, and that there's this whole other network of consciousness in the universe, or that all of our consciousnesses are somehow there's a whole nother universal network through which information and knowledge and understanding is conveyed through. It just all sounds like it's another religion. It's just more made up crap, in my opinion. And I don't see any facts, anything that would make it even remotely possible or reasonable to take this leap of faith that this all makes sense, that we have intelligence for a reason, that it isn't just something that exists in us individually, and that when we are dead, we are dead. There's no soul, there's no memory, there's no residence of our consciousness, there's nothing. We cease to exist. The programming that we are is gone. It is not floating around somewhere. I mean, I could take a CD of a software program, and if I break it, there's no representation of it floating around somewhere. If I take the whole computer and I put it in a trash compactor, there's no representation of its computer activity that's going to be left. There's just going to be garbage left, just pieces, just broken pieces. And that's what happens when we die. There's just the pieces left, just the parts, the unworking organism, the unspinning top. Well, anyway, that's my opinion. And when people start talking about language being an artifact, and that there's this superior language achieved through chemistry, chew on a few mushrooms, little tab, and there's this whole new universe. Bullshit. There's the whole, it gives you access to your imagination, and anybody who's dreamed knows how bizarre and strange that world is. Alice in Wonderland. I mean, it is a bizarre and strange world that our imagination can create. It's an interesting world, and it can create through its associations by combining different things that we wouldn't naturally or rationally combine. It can show us things through that abstraction. We can look at the abstraction and see connections that we weren't logically going to come to, because they aren't logical connections. The abstraction itself is illogical, but it provokes thought in directions that we logically might not go. And so it can be constructive, it can be illuminating, it can enhance our understanding. But when we take that to this bizarre extreme where we're saying that this is a higher level of reality, or a higher function of the brain, no, delusion is not a higher level. It is a different level, it's a different place. And as I just stated, it is a place we can learn from. There is, like I said, imagination, the creation, the opens doors of rational thought, of rational connections, and to There's no need to, there's no, I don't think there's any cause, no reasonable cause to assume that source of understanding is superior. It only comes from within. There's no evidence that we are communicating with each other, that we tap into some stored historical wisdom. The only thing we can tap into is the gorilla and the lizard. I mean, we can tap into some primal programming, but it's certainly, that isn't going to teach us anything but what a needful beast we are. So anyway, I mean, I guess this is always, there's just a point where we just have to surrender and say there's no point in talking about it, because we have talked it through, at least I have with Matt, 4,000 different ways, and it always comes up with the same conclusion, that there's got to be, there's more magic to this life thing than us just being another organism with a fantastic aberration. I mean, there's all these organisms. A neighbor told me today, she saw a cat run over, driving home from work, and it was just so disturbing. And there's all these feeling creatures out there living lives, and we're just pretending that this is all so magical for us. Yeah, it's different for us. It certainly is. We're able to have much more complex desires and feelings and fears and all of that stuff. But the feelings themselves are just as real for those animals on some levels. Like I said, there is a difference. I'm not saying there isn't a difference, but we discount it all because we're so fucking special. And when we're not recognizing the thing that's special. The special part is the fact that we can be intelligent, that we can know the truth. And if all we're going to do is use this brain to keep contriving, cooking up something new to eat, in a sense, feeding the need. Okay, so we have this need for there to be more. Well, sorry, it's a need that's going to have to be left unfulfilled. The science is basically telling you that need's going to have to be left wanting. Okay, your science isn't going to find your God. It isn't going to find your mystery purpose. It isn't going to find any of that shit. Okay, what it's going to find is this cold, hard truth. All right, that we are animals, and that we are composed and comprised of a design created by incredibly stupid and ignorant forces. Natural selection has no fucking brain. It is the anarchy of civilization. It is brainless mush. All it knows is what can happen, can happen. It has no compassion. It has no rules regarding how much something suffers. As long as it survives, that's the only thing it's considering is survival of the mechanism. And so it can contrive as evil and as disgusting a method of survival as is possible. There's no, and because we just don't have anything worse to compare life to, or anything better for that matter, we accept it. We accept it. We say it's okay. It's okay, this stupid, moronic cycle of life, this consume and be consumed cycle of life. Yeah, no, it's a horror. And the only thing that's ever come out of it that's of any value whatsoever is the fact that we have been able to stop. We've been able to stop, climb out of the maze, and contemplate this circumstance. Okay, and wonder at it all. And I'm not saying wondering is valuable in itself, because it's just another desirous kind of indulgence, a pleasure. But the fact that we can analyze it and understand it, and we're getting closer and closer to the day when we're going to know the truth in a more certain way. And when we do, then we'll have to decide what it means for the human race, what it means for life on Earth. And these aren't going to be easy questions to answer, because the truth might be that human beings are better off living in a test tube, that they're better off just being a brain in a beaker that runs a program that feeds the need in a very productive and satisfactory way, that gives that brain everything it wants, everything it desires for, in a very efficient manner, so there is as little suffering and abuse and exploitation as possible. And that might be our destiny. But I'm not going to make that argument, but that's just going to horrify people. But the point is that there's no. I don't accept that we have to. I'm just saying I think it is a pointless and cruel evasion to use science to build a funner fantasy. To build a more intricate and self-rewarding lie. I mean, if that's all we're going to use intelligence for, is to create some creative, interesting, phantasmagorical bullshit nonsense contrivance, then yeah, we're wasting intelligence.